because the program accepted the police whitewashing themselves way too easily. That interview with the police turned my stomach, especially the one with Cecil, with them snickering about the whole squaw business. But every time you hear old squaw walk, you do not hear the first part of my statement. The program lets them get away with it. I explained this to the program, but the exculpation of the police officers was the mission on this program, Those guys have never spoken in public. The program put enough pressure on them to make them come out there. That's another good thing about the program. Those are the two best things that happened about that program. They were long overdue and needed, and the program induced them to have to do that. So I'll be forever grateful to the program for that. And then Baby Huey, I call him, Williams, comes on and denies everything, but it seems scripted to me. They were coached. You see Coach Strelzin sitting there glaring at them, but it did me good to force Monahan to make a public appearance, even though he said it absolutely as little as possible. It gave me and afforded me an opportunity to point out to the world what has been hushed up all this time, and that's probably the thing I wanted to do most about the program, probably the reason I did it. I want Monahan exposed as being the worst cop or a suspect. That's what I consider him. I want everybody to know it too, and I'm unrelenting in that, and I always will be. I'm not letting up. That is the worst police work in the history of the world. What is it? Is it, if you're in New Hampshire, you get one type of a police effort. If you're just a masshole, which is what they call us, support the economy, but you're not worth looking for. Evidently, that's the case. He didn't look for her. That's what he says. Why? What's your job, mister? This is Monahan. This is a guy that didn't look for my missing daughter who's now gone, dead. This is a guy that could have saved her and didn't, unless he killed her. That's what I've got to say. That is not off the table. I'm still saying it. Okay, another thing. In the program, Maggie said it was 5.5 years before Fred talked to police. And that really exasperates me, because I talked to the police from the get-go, over and over. I was up to their barracks, or whatever you want to call it, the state police headquarters in Bethlehem, I guess, several times, talking to them, and they'd have the room full of the top brass, in their uniforms, with all kinds of stuff hanging. And they put me in a chair, and I'm completely surrounded everywhere I look. This is pressure. And then they're assuring me that they're going to get it. They take care of everything. Don't you worry, Mr. Murray. And to make me think that something's being done about it. All the time, the only thing that was being done about it was to keep their behinds out of it, So I talked to the police very early. I talked to them a lot, but...
He sued them for not talking to you.
At one point, Maggie asked me about sexually assaulting my daughter. What a cheap shot that is. Even the cops can't ask me about that. What a cheap ploy, a cheap shot for ratings. That really rots me to death. That you're going to take what else can you call it but a cheap shot like that? So there was good and there's bad about that program. I have to take it because I wanted to go from, as I said, from a small little cult type of status to something broad that will run on its own, and so it will just keep mushrooming and steamrolling. That's what I'm trying to set up, to make it so big that the cops are forced to come out and talk, and it worked. That got the cops out in public, and they never would have done it. They hadn't for 13 years, right. And boom, here they're out there and they had a talk. That's another good thing. I'm pretty quick to say about the bad stuff about the program, but there was a lot of good stuff, and that was almost chief among them, so I don't know. It's no slam dunk that she got into a car at all. I'm saying no, unless she knew the person. And but nobody seeing it is kind of a stretch, so that's the conclusion of the program, but it's an easy one, and that absolves them from any further digging. The question now is, what about the McNamara timeline? That doesn't seem to work. Does it take 15 minutes to go to the beyond the height of land or where she made the phone call? Does it take 15 minutes to drive from the accident site to that point? Did you drive it?
Yes, and I think that the fastest she probably could have done it is 15 minutes.
The fastest?
Yes.
And conditions were horrible.
Yeah, so the oxygen series, well, their timeline actually just doesn't work.
I agree with you.
That was sort of a blaring mistake, but I think their time for her was 7:37, and that's the latest possible that she could have gone by the scene, is according to my calculations, because at that point, at 7:37, she was still 12 miles over the speed limit.
Okay, and 7:52 was the call?
Yeah.
And that's inviolate. That's a fact. Right. In the true sense of the term. So his crap doesn't work because he got there at 7:46.
Right. Yeah, my estimation was that she passed the scene around 7:33, 7:34.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope she doesn't back off.
Yeah.
So, right there, that's the major crux of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Tearing that apart, it should totally reopen the case. In my mind,
because there's just no way.
So, I want that discussed. I don't want the program to be able to say, well, that's that. If Cecil was in a sedan, we got a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest standouts to some people in relation to your timeline and the Grafton County Sheriff's Department log is Cecil Smith's arrival time of 7:46.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually got there a lot earlier, and that's in the interview that we did. In fact, I called the state police today to double-check that, and they said, yes, that's exactly what happened. So Cecil Smith got there earlier than 7:46. This is what drives me nuts. I don't understand the question after that.
Yeah, it really isn't a question. This is just what
because it's not. It's part of the conspiracy. It's part of this theory that it's not Cecil. I'll
Right. I think some people are still just disputing who was in 001. I think, and I think that's what you're getting at.
Because people don't like facts to get in the way of a good story.